Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, as promised, to celebrate my 5,000 subs, we've got a Q&A for this video. Got some lovely juicy questions that I've written down that you've sent in to me. So before I crack on, thank you very much for everyone's support this year. It's been so humbling to read all your lovely messages of how much you've enjoyed the videos this year. You know, it's not easy sometimes when you're kind of put out a video and not every video is for someone, but I'm really glad that you're finding the content of some use and some help to your golf game. So let's get cracking, and I'm going to do a little flight scope test while I'm answering the question. So let's get to it. Okay, first question is Greg Simmons from Denver. Who is the best player you have played with on tour and why? And he's got two questions, and any funny stories from your playing days. Thanks, Greg. The first one is from Greg, who is the best player I've played with and why. So, and another one, any funny stories. So I would say, played with quite a lot of the top players. Norman, with my two heroes, was Sevi, which I didn't get to play with. I played behind him and in front of him a few times. Sat and had lunch with Sevi once, which was amazing. And played with Greg Norman, a bit controversial at the moment. Played with Tiger as an amateur. My last ever amateur round, actually. But I would say my best player was Colin Montgomery, and I played with him throughout his prime because he was so consistent. Okay, let's get this 50 yards. I played with him probably half a dozen times, and he's just so consistent. He wasn't the longest I've ever played with. Wasn't the the most impressive. You stand there and go, wow, I could probably hit it a little bit further than him. But the consistency of shot every time, that was the most impressive thing. Just stood there, did the same old swing like he does, hit a little baby fade every time, and I don't think he shot anything less than 67 when I played with him. It was just so easy to watch, and I just thought, wow, from my perspective, it may have not been from his, but from my perspective, it just looked like how you should play golf. Stand there, you know where the ball's going, you know what shape it's going to do in the air. It was just beautiful to watch. So apart from that, obviously for distance, I played with Dustin Johnson in the 2012 Open, and I always remember on one par 3 at Royal Lytham, I hit a good 6-iron. It was a little bit into, it probably wasn't very strong, 10-15 miles an hour, and I hit this good 6-iron. It landed at the front of the green, and I looked at his club at the start when he hit, and he hit this really balloony 7-iron. And it looked like, well, I walked off the tee, and me and Simon, who was caddying for me, we both turned around and went, wow, that's 30 yards short of the green, and it landed pin high. And he hit a 7-iron, and it was just like seriously balloony. It looked like the wind had got it. So that's the ball speed that was coming off. He was impressive. I think he was the most impressive ball striker I've ever played with. Right, so next question, Greg, is any funny stories? You know what? The one story I always say is I had a chance to play in the 2002 Ryder Cup to qualify for it. So I was going into the last round, going into the last tournament. I needed to win it, and Justin Rose needed to finish second for us to both qualify automatically. Me, Justin, and Sam Torrance were playing together. First two rounds, I was leading after the first round. I think Justin was second, or we were tied, one of the twos. Anyway, it's getting quite interesting. Anyway, I blew out a little bit second round, but still kind of in contention a little bit. So I was playing with Sam. So obviously Sam was the Ryder Cup captain. So obviously we didn't know about 9/11 then, and this was in the summer. So it was delayed to the 2002 one. But yeah, so Sam was the captain. So anyway, I got drawn with Sam in the third round as well. So anyway, so I thought, right, okay, put a bit of charge together, and I had a little bit of a crappy first 9 holes, and it was at Glen Eagles. I think it was a Johnny Walker. Anyway, I was walking back to the 9th tee with him. So at Glen Eagles, you have to get dropped off by a buggy because it was a big old distance from 8th green to 9th tee. Got dropped off, and me and Sam were both walking back to the tee while the caddies moved down the fairway. And I was walking alongside him, and Sam turned around to me and said, "Do you know what you're doing in September, Warren?" So I looked at him with a little kind of wry smile, and I said, "Yeah, you know what I'm expletive doing, Sam, in September, or want to do anyway." So he said, "Oh, that's good, because I need someone to drive my buggy." So that was his way to say, "Well done, but you're not picked." So I thought that was really good. A good, kind of very kind guy, Sam. Very nice way to kind of put it without having to be too serious. So anyway, let's go this final shot. 50 yards. Okay, next question is from Russell. Thanks so much for this, Warren. He's talking about the less is more video. This definitely got me hitting driver straighter with some even showing a baby draw. Well done, Russell, for that. My distance, however, seems to max out at 230, so it's not too bad. But any suggestions for some more speed and distance? Okay, Russell, thanks very much for that. So yes, improving your distance. So be very careful, because what you don't want to do is upset the apple cart too much. You don't want to, you don't want to kind of change too much just for the sake of changing, if you know what I mean. Generally, the most speed is created by your arms and hands, so whatever you're doing, you can improve and speed up, but you can introduce a little bit more coil. I'd say power comes from your kind of internal, your body, and then you can get rid of it. And so it's the combo of both, so it's improving combination. Weight transference is another one. Yes, you're keeping everything behind with the driver, but you're making sure everything's coming off here as well. So legs, remember, are really powerful in your golf swing. Keep doing what you're doing. Really kind of keep working on the aspects, because what you don't want to do is take a step back. You want to keep everything moving, so improve what you've got. It's really easy in golf when you see the kind of the arc of improvement going up. You want to keep it going and going and going, but I'd say small increments. There are obviously weight transference drills you can do, kind of the step-in drill. You know, you can get more flexible. You know, we can all be more flexible, so you know, definitely shoulder flexibility. The more flexibility you have, the more range of motion you have, the longer arc you have, creates a bit more leverage. You know, you don't have to go to the gym and lift weight, and that's going to help with your longevity and injury prevention as well. So I hope that helps, Russell. Thanks very much for your question, and on to the next one. Okay, next question. So I seem to have deleted one earlier for some reason. I don't know why, but it's from Peter in Melbourne. Hi, Peter. Hope everything's well over there. Pretty sure it's going to be a little bit warmer than over here in the UK. So Peter said, some time ago, in an effort to improve my golf, I went down a rabbit hole of watching too many YouTube videos. Rather than improve, I've gone backwards, as I can't stand over the ball without my head being filled with countless swing thoughts. Speaking to some of my golf club mates, I suspect this is a common problem. Any ideas? Okay, thanks, Peter. Hi, Peter. So thank you very much for that, and hope everything's well down in sunny Melbourne. And yeah, so your question is, wow, yeah, so not the first time I've heard that. And it's so easy these days to kind of go down that rabbit hole of watching too many videos. And I would say there's no substitute for one-to-one teaching. There really isn't, because a teacher can feel it. Having that interaction with someone, you cannot beat it. So be careful, everyone, not just you, Peter. Be careful of looking at too many videos. Realise what your faults are and what you're good at, and then you can try and improve there. So let's say if you're an over the top, and no question you can kind of search for trying to stop being over the top, or, you know, but it's so easy, isn't it, these days, to get online, get on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever, and trying to, and absorbing all these questions. Okay, let's just hit this one. Departmentalise the structure of your golf. And it's easy just to stand there and go, well, I'm not going to think of anything, which is obviously the nirvana, because you do want to have some sort of kind of feelings when you're over the ball. You know, just standing there and just whacking it is all very well, but what happens if everything goes wrong? What happens if you're starting to hit it all over the place? So there is ways that you can kind of be able to kind of structure your golf a little bit. You know, I would say, and everyone's built a little bit differently internally, so some people are quite analytical, but be careful with that. And some people are kind of a bit more free-spirited. So there's always a balance with everything. I would say I would try to really departmentalise, work on certain drills, you know, kind of, let's say for instance the hit and hold drill like we've got on the video, and it's just using little exercises that are kind of a bit more free instead of kind of position orientated. But you know, accept that golf isn't a game you're going to beat, but you can improve in terms of, I would say, have your own range drills and specific feelings. And then when you go on the golf course, I always like to give people a golf course thought and a range thought. Golf course thought, for instance, is, right, today I'm going to just keep my balance at the end of the swing and hold until the ball finishes or lands. Or you work on rhythm and you work on lightness. They're the sort of things you take onto the golf course. You don't take positions out on the golf course. So, you know, your goal for the round, forget about how it goes, your goal for the round is to keep your pressure in your grip to a 3 out of 10 maximum throughout the whole swing, on every single swing. So it's balance and lightness would be a good one. Or you could take very simple things. Remember my little saying, Peter, that find the one thing that cures 4. Now, it doesn't have to cure 4, but let's say, for instance, we're trying to keep our head nice and still instead of swaying or anything like that, is, you know, keeping your head. You're allowed to move your head, you know, kind of that way, but you're not moving it laterally. So it's just all down or up and down. So it's just, you know, having something like that just to kind of allows everything to work around it. So if the axis is right, everything else can swing correctly. If the axis is wrong, everything's going to struggle. Or you feel like, right, I'm just going to put my brain in my footwork. You know, making sure my feet and my weight transference is correct. Play shape. So instead of standing there telling them how to hit a fade or a draw, you put targets out there and you tell them, right, this ball's going to start right and this ball's going to hook, and you work on fades and you work on low shots and you work on high, and then your body finds a way. Instead of trying to think, right, how do I hit a hook, so it's a bit of a swing by numbers, you kind of feel everything kind of, you let it happen. So all these things happen. You could introduce little things to help it. You can feel a little bit right hand if you're obviously right-handed, or you can feel the opposite, a little bit under. So it's just all these kind of, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other, depending on which angle you look in on. So really, what we say is that paralysis by analysis, right? Third shot, 1, 2, 5. So yeah, so I hope that helps, Peter. So just kind of get in the habit of just kind of leaving stuff onto the range, leaving stuff at home, leaving all the analytics and the feelings and the positions, which I think you should kind of carry on doing, because you still need to improve in terms of mechanically. But when you go on the golf course, take golf course feelings, light grip, good balance, smoothness of transition. So everyone's transition gets a bit rushed, don't they, under pressure, into the wind, anything like that. So keep everything nice and light and smooth. Make that a goal and see what happens. Right, Peter, I hope that helps, and wish you well from UK to Australia. Okay, next question is from Definitive Energy 1878. Do I give private lessons and do I have a website? Okay, Mr. or Mrs. Definitive Energy 1878, I think. Thanks very much for your question. Do I give private lessons or do I have a website? So, well, right now I don't, on both, because I used to be the head professional at Chesterfield. I left about a month ago. So obviously had the academy set up there and I was giving private lessons. At the moment I give swing analysis lessons. So I'm kind of probably going to put a structure in place for any online lessons, any FaceTime lessons. In the future I'd like to set up some sort of kind of community here. At the moment I'm in my garden. I can't really do a lot about it. I don't know where the future holds. Obviously may not be able to stay here and do this for the rest of my life. If that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Because like I always say, it's the content that's the most important. It's not where it is. But in terms of private lessons, unfortunately, right now, as I speak, I can't, because it's too difficult in terms of insurances and things like that. So unfortunately, I would say swing analysis is the only thing I can do at the moment, and then take it from there. So yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment. I'd obviously loved giving one-to-one lessons, and it goes on the back of the previous comment, and the previous question and answer is you can't beat one-to-one lessons. And like I said in the previous question, it's kind of, I always say it's really important to kind of break swings down, but you've got to leave that on the range or at home and not take all those swing thoughts out there. You need a golf course thought or feeling. You can't take swing by numbers out into the golf course because you're not playing golf, you're playing swings. So it's really important to kind of do the work and then trust it. It's got to let it flow, haven't you, in golf? You've got to let it all happen. It's got to be, you know, the golf swing is a golf swing. You can't be too internal, because if you're internal and you're thinking about things too much, that's when tightness happens. Okay, so for now, no, but you never know where the future lies. All right, sorry about that, but thanks for your question. Well, hey, Trev. Okay, next question is from Speed281. He or she has 2 questions. What was your greatest accomplishment of your career, as well as your biggest regret or disappointment? Oh dear, okay, thanks for that. Right, so away from kind of personal stuff, obviously, you know, being able to play in 5 British Opens was a major achievement in terms of, wow, you know, I always wanted to play in an Open when I was young. All my Challenge Tour wins, my kind of tour win, albeit it was a smaller tour competition then. Obviously proud of that. Yeah, and recently, you know, being the pro at Chesterfield for the last 7 years, you know, it's something I always will be proud of. I absolutely loved the club. So I absolutely, you know, loved being the pro there, and I'm proud of what I'd done at the club there and the people I met and the friends I met. So that would be the biggest thing, and just genuine and hopefully myself. So, and my biggest regret and disappointment, wow. I'll tell you what, I'm going to answer that at the end because that's pretty deep, some of it. I'll answer a little bit now. I feel like I didn't fulfill my potential. Felt like I had quite a lot of talent back then, but obviously I didn't feel like I kind of fulfilled all my potential here. So let's hit this last one. Try not to hit Trev. So yeah, so I'm going to go into that with a little bit more detail at the end, if that's okay. Okay, next question is from Keith from Instagram. Thank you, Keith. As a 67-year-old 5 index with back problems, wow, amazing handicap, well done there, Keith. Side bend is pretty limited. I have always had a lot of rotation, but now can come over the top too easily. I think I need to transition to more arms for my swing. Any advice on how to transition? Thank you, Keith. Okay, Keith, yes, so a lot of the videos here on the channel are what you say, actually, in terms of, and we need to kind of get away from kind of what we used to do and then transition into kind of a little bit more arm swing, because a lot of the videos I give on the channel are to do with improving arm swing, because we can still play good golf with an arm swing, more of an arm swing. And you always see kind of elite golfers who are into their kind of latter years. You can always tell, because obviously back in the day they would have had a combination of body swing and arm swing, but because of the lack of rotation and back problems and whatever physical ailments they may have, they can stand there, and you can always tell someone who used to play good golf, because they can't use their body like they used to, but they can still swing their arms effectively. Just don't want to hit Trev here. Because they still have got that effective arm swing, and it's really giving you that kind of, so to help with your transition, I would really encourage more arm swing. Definitely, definitely, definitely. You can still carry on playing good golf into your latter years, well into your latter years, if you educate your arm swing. So many exercises to do. One of my favorites is feet together, because if you take away the base, because obviously if you've got a very narrow stance, even if his feet are touching, Now that's limiting the amount of lateral motion, obviously, because you're going to lose your balance. So it's keeping everything nice and still here, because you're going to have to. So to create speed and length, you're going to have to swing your arms. So to create a golf swing from here, you're going to have to do everything, mostly 90% of it with your arms. I think it's one of the best exercises that you can do with or without a golf ball, because it keeps you nice and centered. You're not moving all over the place like this. No speed, you see. I always say, it's one of the instincts of golf is to try and create power with the big stuff, because we feel like we're putting in the effort. But it's like anything. The natural speed, I call it, is stuff you can't feel. The natural speed happens down here, because we're not really feeling that down there, because we're not moving our body. It's really weird. It's the Hogan thing, reverse every instinct. Our instinct is to hit it with this because we feel like we're putting in the effort. So reverse that is to not move and then educate your arms. Obviously there's feelings that you can have to make sure your arms are in the correct place. You don't want them collapsed. You want to be able to use your wrists as well, and then make sure you release as well. You're not holding on, because you can still have your feet together and still cheat, you see. So you're keeping everything nice and still. You can see I'm creating length now by the amount of hinge I've got, and then from here you're allowing your wrist to roll. That's if you're someone who's obviously used to holding on. I'd really encourage that if I were you. That was better. Okay, Keith, this is a great example. So I've hit 2 shots there, so 161. So I need a little bit more speed here. I should hit a 7-iron a bit further than that, definitely to 170. So I'm going to increase the speed, not by hitting it harder with my body, by introducing a bit more snap down there. So what I'm going to do, I know naturally I've got a bit of lag, but I'm really going to get rid of that, and I'm really going to stay kind of still going to move my body. I'm going to really feel like I'm going to snap these hands and this club back into impact. So what that looks like slow motion is that, and not holding on. You snap those hands and that club in. There we go. There we go, look at that, 182. And that's a great example of me kind of, my normal swing can get a little bit lazy sometimes. I've really focused on getting that hands in, the club in, was what's called matching up that butt of that club, boom, back into your body and not holding on to it. All right, Keith, hope that helps, and good luck with everything. Thanks for your question. Right, next question is from Dan Tramble from Canada. Hi Dan, he's got 2 questions. Been having some success with importance of right arm and driving will be so much easier videos, but has said, can I touch on fairway woods off the deck? Okay, so the next question from Dan is, he sent me a DM with this training aid and wondered if it had my opinion and wondered if it would be any good or not. Right, okay, so Dan, yeah, so the first one's about driver fairway woods off the deck. You know, I would definitely do a video on one over the next few weeks, okay? Hitting a fairway wood off the deck is probably one of the hardest shots, because there really is no down, so you have to be shallow. So hitting a 3-wood off the deck is really difficult if you're steep into the ball. So one of the things you have to do is really feel like you're sweeping. So one exercise that you can do, or one feeling you can take to the golf course, is really low away from the ball. Don't get sucked in with your head, do it, and keep it really low away from the ball, because if you pick it up a little bit too quick, it's hard then to get low into the ball, because that's what you want to do. You want to try and get this club coming right into 3 o'clock in a nice shallow, because what you don't want to do, you don't want to pick it up down too quickly, because if you pick it up too quickly, you're probably going to come down that same trajectory. So you don't want to hit a divot at all, really. You want to pick it off the top. So just having kind of doing little practice swings, so keep it nice and long, big extension away, so having extension away from the club on the backswing, really important for a fairway wood down, okay? So it's really keeping it wide. So even a shorter, wider backswing rather than a longer pick-up, narrow one, okay? Then you can kind of make your hinge from here. So rather you're in this position, Dan, than this position. So to answer your question in terms of that training aid, I would say I like the idea of it because it gives you a feedback, and I like any exercises that give you feedback. So feedback here is obviously you've got a weight here, but obviously if you snap it, that weight goes down to the bottom. So if you snap it correctly, it obviously gives you that feeling of that snap down there. So I like those sort of things. I wouldn't hang your hat on it all the time, but any feedback exercise, I wouldn't make it your only kind of training aid. But yes, having loads of different little stuff is really, really important to practice. Having a few training aids that you go to that you like the feel of, absolutely. And there's no question that some are better than others for our own swings. You know, if you have a problem down with your release and you want to try and get this club back into that ball a bit more effectively, that gives you that feedback, no question about it. You can transfer that over to hitting a golf ball, and I would say yes, go for it. It's actually not the cheapest. I put it on the screen now. It's obviously not the cheapest, it's in dollars. So, you know, there are other things like that out there. You know, like a heavy club is always a good one. It's like swinging with one arm. It makes the club heavier and it allows the club to swing around us a little bit more, left and right. Can't do it too much on my left, I've got terrible arthritis on my thumb here. But yeah, so making the club feel heavy allows it to swing. It's a really good exercise. My brother used to be fantastic in hitting one arm, left arm swings. Right arm is the same. Get this club swinging around you a little bit more. So no question, it's like that old release exercise, isn't it, with a ball? So you make your backswing and you drop that ball down, trying to hit the ball on the ground. It's the same thing. You're training your arms to release that club down on the ground. So no question about that, Dan. If you feel that's going to be a benefit to your game, no question about it. Okay, cheers Dan, thanks for your questions, and on to the next one. Okay, next question is from Graham Dodsworth. Hi Graham. If I would short side myself in a bunker between me and the hole, what type of shots would you consider playing? Thank you, Graham. Okay, Graham, so short siding yourself, and we've all done it. So number one thing that kind of resonates with me when I read that question, the first thing that came to mind is when I read something when I was young. Sevi said, don't try anything on the golf course that you can't do in practice. So first thing I would say, if I was out giving you a playing lesson, if you're short-siding yourself and you want to try and hit one just delicate, first thing you've got to look at is the line. Obviously, easy hit off from that. The first thing that you want to try and check out is the line. If the line's not worthy of a flop shot or a delicate one, don't play it. You kind of sometimes have to take your medicine. Right, so one tip, if you've got the lie on your side and you feel like you can do it, is speed is your friend here. What I see a lot of people do is they kind of get there and they kind of quit on it because they try to get too delicate. So speed is your friend. Okay, so if you're going to introduce a little bit more speed, well, hold on a minute, you said you just short-sided yourself and you want to play a delicate one. Yes, so but you can still introduce some speed, Graham. So to help you with that, I would open the club face. Open the club face just a tad. You don't want to open it like a frying pan, but just nice and open. So now, I'm turning my 56, and if you've got a 60, but let's say you can turn it over maybe 6 degrees here, 4 degrees. So now I can play it a little bit more quicker. I can play it quicker than I normally would. So I would say don't get too cute. Remember, there's an element of taking your medicine. You make the landing zone nearer the hole. If you pitch it by the hole, it may not run on too far. But even if you give yourself, Graham, 10-foot pass, 12-foot pass, 15-foot pass, give yourself that chance for a par. Better than dunking it into that bunker. But remember, take your medicine and don't try anything you wouldn't do in practice that you can't do in practice. Okay, Graham, thanks for the question. Hope that helps. Next question is from Graham Dargo. Hi Graham, thank you for sending in. He's actually got two questions. What is in my bag and why? And the second question Graham's got is how often do I get new irons, fairways, putter and driver? Okay Graham, thanks very much for that. Okay Graham, so two questions, thanks for them. First one, what's in my bag and why? So I don't carry a hybrid, never got on with them for some reason. I always carry a long iron, so a 2-iron or a driving iron of some sort. I don't have, I would say the worst club in my bag I've had bad experiences with is 3-wood. For some reason, 3-wood off the deck. I've had to hit some awful shots in the past. So obviously I carry a full set of irons, I'm not big with wedges. I've only got 3 wedges, so I've got a wedge of 52 and 56. I haven't ever carried anything longer than a 56. I don't know why, I just haven't got on with anything higher than that. Like a 60, I've always felt like I can kind of manipulate a 56 to a 60. My wedge would be about 48, and then I've got a 52 and a 56. And then from there, like I say, I don't really carry a hybrid. Up to a 3 iron, and I always carry a 2 iron. Back in the day I always used to use a 1 iron. Apart from that, yeah, putter, I've always had kind of 3 putters in my career. I haven't mucked around with putters too much. Yeah, so yeah, apart from things like keeping new stuff, in terms of your second question about new irons, how often? Well, I kept my driver for 10 years because I always think I would sacrifice a little bit of distance and the new technology over feeling like I have control. So what I've got here is a TS3. I've had this for about 5 years now. And before that I had a Titleist 910. So I had that for like 8-9 years. Because, like I said, I'd always sacrifice a little bit of distance for the confidence I would have in my club. So if I hit a bad shot, I knew it was me. So my irons I've had now for kind of 5 years, I think, which are ping blades. Yeah, so I'm not one for changing. When I was on tour, obviously you had access to new clubs, but still I wouldn't change too often. Obviously wedges you would practice more, and you would practice on a lot of courses that are sand based, so you would wear out your grooves quite quickly. So I'd probably have 3 or 4 wedges a year, and obviously they can spec it exactly. I think the biggest thing that we did on tour back in the day was loft and lie, because you hit a lot of golf balls, and especially off a matted one. So in the northern hemisphere, obviously it's winter at the moment, and people tend to hit a lot of shots off mats, driving ranges, and especially like 7 irons. Don't really go to your 7 iron, because you don't want your 7 iron turning into an 8 iron or a 6 iron, and it messes all your numbers up. So you stand there and you hit your first 7 iron in anger in the first competition, and it nails over the green. So yeah, apart from that, I'm one for continuity and confidence in my equipment. It's the same with shafts. You get people, don't you, trying to go out the latest and greatest. If I feel like I've swung at it well, then I'm happy with that. If I feel like I've made a good execution, the ball's done something weird, then I would obviously have a look at something different. Obviously the manufacturers are bringing out new clubs, aren't they, new equipment every 18 months, some of them quicker than that, and there's so much choice, isn't there, compared to what we used to have. But don't get sucked in. It's kind of like the question I gave, kind of like the answer I gave about YouTube videos. Don't get sucked in. It's so easy to get sucked in because your friend's got the latest and greatest and he's hitting it 20 yards further. By all means, have a go and have a try, but don't ever buy a club off the shelf, and change the important stuff, change your scoring. Look at your wedges, practice your wedge play more, practice your short game more. Because this bookend a hole well, because if you can drive well and chip and putt well, then you're not far gone. Alright Graham, so I hope that helps. So remember, use equipment that you have confidence in. Okay Graham, thanks very much for the question. Okay, before I finish up, just going to need to finish off that question, I think from 281, my biggest regret and disappointments. Yeah, not fulfilling my potential. I think I had potential to not kind of do this and do that, because we can never say, can we, what we're going to do and achieve. But I think longevity, I think I could have been a little bit longer out on tour. Yeah, so I think I could have been out there a little bit longer. Many reasons for that. I would say my body gave out a little bit, but more importantly, I don't think I was there mentally. I think I struggled a little bit there. I obviously struggled from being out in the limelight and the stress of it. Yeah, just not what I tried my best, and I tried everything to help myself. And this is even from a young'un, really. I suffered from a bit of say anxiety, I'd say stress of the performance of it was big, because obviously golf is obviously result based, isn't it? A lot of it's to do with the result. It's kind of, you're based on your results, nothing else really, and you are kind of, you're judged on your results all the time. And I felt that stress for a long time, and it kind of accumulated in the 2004 Open, where, you know, I had to pull out of the Open because of that. And for me to actually have to verbalise that, or me to verbalise that now, shows that I've kind of moved on a lot from that, because at the time no one knew. They thought it was a physical injury, and it wasn't. It was a psychological one. So, and I haven't really I never really got back to my playing days after that. I dipped in and out and played in one more Open after that, which was great, but yeah, I think in terms of longevity, that's my kind of disappointment, and it kind of accumulated a little bit as well of me having to kind of leave Chesterfield as well. But it's something I'm dealing with now. I absolutely love doing the channel. I love doing what I'm doing right now. But looking back, it's something that I wished I knew then what I know now, isn't it? So anyway, can't do anything about it. Beautiful family around me, got some beautiful friends around me helping me, and we're all in it together a little bit. So, but yeah, that's my kind of biggest. We've all got regrets a little bit, haven't we, and disappointments, but you know, I just think if you can learn from them and move on from them, I think we can kind of try and kind of clear our heads a little bit. That's what I'm trying to do. And it kind of goes on to a question that I got given a long time ago about why I'm wearing my red hat all of a sudden with St. Louis. A little bit, I think, is from a few guys that are in America, maybe from St. Louis, or who support the Cardinals. My dad he went over, he was a professional footballer, played for West Ham and Leyton Orient in the 60s and 70s, and he went over, I think in 1977, he went over and played for St. Louis Soccer Stars with a few British guys. I think there's a lot of British guys going out there doing that in the 70s, when they're in the late 70s anyway. And he was one of them, and we all went out as a family during the off season here in Britain. And yeah, he went over and played there, so I always had a little bit of a soft spot for St. Louis. So anyway, yeah, so that's it really. But I really hope that everyone has enjoyed this Q&A. I've loved doing it. It's a bit cold out here at the moment, as you can see with I've got my neck warmer on, but yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed it. It's something a little bit different, and I'm really looking forward to doing a lot of videos during 2024 and helping as much as I can to help everyone play their best golf, and that's why the channel's here. It's not easy sometimes making videos, in terms of you chuck them out there on YouTube and you hope for the best. Before I go, I'd like to wish everyone a healthy and happy 2024. Looking forward to carrying on with the channel and doing my best to help you guys as much as I can in every aspect of golf. I don't know where the channel's going to go. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, see where it evolves. But the main factor is, I just hope that I can help you improve and enjoy golf throughout 2024 and beyond. So thanks everyone, and from myself and Trev down here, we wish you happy and healthy year, and we'll see you soon. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheerio.